Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today. We are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. But if you would like to get on the list for a personal reading, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of 28 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 22 or more for my subscribers, Binks and Mylayo. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps. Those are pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in a private reading, and you can book a private reading on my site. We are also doing 2 giveaways today. The first giveaway is we will be doing a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes. So make sure that you're tapping that screen. We'll get to 50K in no time. The other giveaway we're doing today is I will be gifting a free reading to whoever gives the highest gift between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. Prior to beginning our daily collective read, I am going to be giving a brief recap on what we've been seeing in the cards over the last few days. If you would like to see any of that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it as a podcast over on my Substack and over on my spot at Tarot Church. But first and foremost, before we begin, how are you guys doing right now? I'm gonna tell you right now, and we've been talking about this over the last few days. We sometimes coming out of these eclipse cycles is really, really, really intense. So, one of the things that we need to address right now is just the fact that, a lot of the work that we saw that was happening during that eclipse was working through navigating and working through perceptions of the self. Now, one of the things that we see that occurs in a lot of those moments is, and we've been talking a lot about this, we were going through during that eclipse process, the Venus in retrograde on top of the Mercury retrograde, which again was creating a lot of that space of potentially feeling the distortion of perception in combination with the feeling of things just going wrong. Now, one of the lessons that we were able to really recognize that was helping us during these processes was a lot of that full moon in Leo that we received prior to going through that eclipse cycle. Now, if you're feeling rougher than you did while being in the eclipse, I want you to remember that makes a lot of sense right now because, and we've been talking about this over the last few days, the eclipse energy itself does not have a characteristic. It amplifies the energy. And, that feeling of ennui, that feeling of energetic exhaustion, we often feel it coming out of full moon cycles. I feel like we're experiencing it a lot right now. And I also am seeing that one thing that I think is also happening has to do with working through the space of personal frustration. Why are we effectively seeing that right now? Because a lot of the messages that we were receiving over the last few days has to do with working through healthy communication. Mercury retrograde periods, I'm always going to stress this, they're not here to confound us. They're not here to frustrate us. They're here to help us innovate. They're here to help us recognize what we can do better, what we can adapt to, what we can change. But the problem with a lot of this, I don't want to say problem, but the challenge of a lot of this work right now is having to overcome frustration. And either that is the internalized frustration of the self, or it is the externalized frustration in navigating situations and circumstances that feel like they're causing a lot of that difficulty. I would not be surprised right now if you're going through like work in trying to communicate how you're feeling in a way that makes sense. I just want to stress this. It was a culmination of a lot of the work that we were experiencing leading into this rough energetic cycle. We went through that whole period of the Mars retrograde, which was making us kind of encounter our fear. It was making us kind of do that work in navigating the self and being able to recognize and identify what it feels like to move forward with the difference between confidence and courage, right? Finding the ability to navigate through. And then we started having a lot of energy in Pisces. So working in the space of the feelings. And I just want to I want to rewind a little bit and remind you guys where we were a few months ago. We had all of this energy sitting in Pisces, no Aries energy to be found. So a lot of that space potentially in observing how one feels, dwelling in the space of the feelings, navigating through emotions. And then again, we went into the Mars retrograde. Like came out of the Mars retrograde straight into a lot of planets moving into Aries. So suddenly feeling like this hurry up and wait mentality where it felt like you had to move a lot quicker. And then we had Neptune that's transferred into Aries. So, and at the same time that Neptune moved into Aries, we had Mercury and Venus that were up in Aries. And then when the retrograde starts, they start pulling back into Pisces. So there's potentially working through a lot of this vacillation between the head and the heart space, right? Having a lot of that start and stop, having a lot of that like working through the frustration. Now, one of the things that we've been talking through a lot about right now has to do with overcoming the obstacle of the energy of frustration. Because when we feel frustrated, what do we want to do? We want to project it away from us. We want to give up on things. We want to stamp our feet and move away from something. But when we are able to recognize and feel the power of being able to sit in the stillness of our own frustration, being able to parse through it, to be able to understand it, boom, breakthrough, understanding of the self, right? But it requires that conscious effort. And I keep on seeing right now, this is having a deep impact depending on where we are on the frequency cycles as it relates to breakthrough in communication, breakthrough in being understood, being able to potentially even see with clarity what an energetic hurdle was as it relates to past experiences and past connections. But sometimes, and we talk a little bit about this, coming into the understanding of the self, like awakening to the self. It's not all these like, oh, moments that feel divine. Sometimes it's working through the frustration of the self in the process. And one of the things that we're seeing that's happening right now has to do with navigating that territory of the difference between I keep on seeing stubbornness and sublimity, right? Something that we hold on to because we're rigid about it for reasons that we cannot define versus those spaces that we are able to try to communicate to another as to why something is intrinsically important. And so this is having a big impact depending on where you find yourselves on the frequency cycles right now. For masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. You know, one of the things that we're seeing that's happening right now, particularly in relationality to some of the partnership cycles that we're identifying at this time, is I keep on defining these as chariot partnerships. They're taking more time to come together. And the thing about chariot energy, and I kind of like to talk about this a lot when I teach upon it in our chariot class, is there's often the misconception that the chariot energy means something that moves very quickly. That's not chariot energy. I want to stress this. Chariot energy, and it has a lot to do with the fact that when we see the way that Pamela Coleman Smith depicted the card of the chariot, there's a rigidness in that card. it almost looks like it's in cement. It looks like it's stationary. Why is that card depicted in a stationary way? Because the card itself talks about the energy that is required to move something forward, right? And again, like I kind of want to talk about, like, I want you to think about, it's a little bit easier if you drive like a manual transmission car. But if you understand the way that a car moves, the first gear has to have all of the force. Once you get the car into motion, you don't need to put that much energy into it, right? You just need to kind of give it a little bit. The hardest force that we have to navigate whenever we're trying to do something new is that first push. It's that movement it's the movement from stationary into energetic momentum. And so we see that often when we're going through these cycles wrapped around chariot energy, it feels clumsy. It feels like working through frustration. It's not so much the advancements point, it's the training wheel energy. It's identifying the effort that it takes to get something off of the ground. And so that's why we're seeing that for a lot of those partnerships that are occurring during this time, the I keep on seeing the barrier of forgiveness, right? That beautiful moment where we see and recognize one another's clumsiness, but then we are able to have a level or degree of compassion for it. That is where we see, like, that is the heart of a dynamic new experience, because it is the difference between trepidation and hesitation, right? The work into intentionality, wherein we're trying to do something and we're feeling clumsy and we're getting frustrated towards ourselves, and we're working in that place of persistent progress, versus those recognition points where it feels like there are those active points of energetic resistance that almost feel like they are unyielding, right? And I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy working through these cycles right now, the ability to, and this is having to do with like the Jupiter and Gemini that we're experiencing right now, the ability to disassemble something, the ability to work something through, the ability to articulate upon how one feels and what one is intending to do. This is how a lot of those partnerships are starting to come together, because it is I keep on seeing, it's like the tweaking. It's like the best way I can describe it. It's like the tweaking energy, right? It's the fine tuning. It's trying to do something and feeling frustrated at the self, but then improving a little bit more and a little bit more, that allows for that observation of incremental progress where all things are possible. At the same time, I'm also seeing that there's a lot of work potentially going into separation at this time as well. And that may have to do with more recognizing and understanding resistance, right? Working through the energy of another that is, again, being energetically stubborn, not necessarily due to being able to articulate why they're kind of holding in a certain, like, why one's in a certain modality. And this has to do a lot with that conversation that we were articulating and seeing as it relates to identifying the difference between stubbornness and something that is intrinsically important. So if you're going through this right now in separation, if you're working through that frustration, if you're working through a little bit of that clumsiness, I don't want you to get frustrated at this time. I want you to be energetically patient with yourself. And I want you more than anything to be communicating through it. Now, for a lot of the energy, and again, at the same time, that identification point and being able to navigate and recognize what feels like it is progressing in a direction that feels like it's valuable and vital, versus what feels like it's at an energetic standstill point. This is also really important right now because, again, with Neptune transiting into Aries, I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of the energy that is recognizing the difference between how the emotions feel versus what the direction something is moving in. So there may be a lot of space in holding the emotions or honoring how we feel, but not allowing the emotions to block the perception as to what is occurring. It's a very I keep on getting the fact that this is like a very lucid space that we're experiencing right now energetically. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is moving into divine union right now, one of the things, this same work is occurring. And I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy coming into divine union, this is a time of effectively or energetically fine tuning the relationship. Why are we seeing that there's so many points right now as it relates to fine tuning? Because we're coming out, as I mentioned, of that Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde combo. Like it's a double whammy of those two things. And when we have those, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, you'll remember that these are the warrior partnerships. These were the partnerships that were occurring during that cycle of Mars retrograde. The ability to recognize and identify something from the past about the self that you couldn't see before is effectively the hallmark of having entered or come into a healthy energetic cycle. Because for a lot of the energy experiencing that observation, right? Feeling again, working through potentially the sting of regret, right? And we talk a lot about this. This is how wisdom forms. Sometimes when we're having those moments of wisdom, it feels painful. It feels frustrating. We get frustrated at ourselves. But in the moment that we feel energetically frustrated, we also feel the relief of seeing something that allows us the context that we can change within it. So I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy, identifying, recognizing this work, this is like the new ground from which anything can be formed. But that's the ability that we see that for a lot of the partnerships entering that space, it starts with compassion for the self. And if they're not having compassion for themselves, the counterpart is helping them through that energetic journey, right? It is the recognition of the resolutions that we set for ourselves that help us see our higher self. So I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, working through the dual force of feeling the consolation in like the congratulations in terms of how far they've come, but also the conciliation of how far they have yet to go. It's rocky, it's rough, but it's also expansive. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, I just keep on seeing overcoming frustration, working in pathwork of refinement, right? It's processing, it's allowing a lot of that context of feeling frustrated at the self, feeling potentially frustrated around those around the self. But here's the thing about it, for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now, I just keep on seeing that a lot of this energy is working towards Gemini and Taurus lessons. And that's why I keep on seeing that it has to do with being able to be energetically firm on something that one feels importance towards, right? And I keep on getting that for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, that same conversation that we now see is moving into the energy and separation, being able to recognize and identify the difference between stubbornness, right? Or exquisite insistence. What is stubbornness? Something that we hold on to that we can't necessarily explain why, right? A lot of that stubbornness almost coming into the space of the energetic ego, recognizing and identifying that, right? Because this is the energy that almost welcomes those moments, because in doing so, they're able to see a blind spot of the self. And at the same time, articulating upon why something has meaning. Everything I keep on seeing for a lot of the energy deep within divine union is being able to come upon the words. Remembering during that Mars retrograde cycle, we kept on saying that we were moving towards Renaissance energy. And the beauty of coming into and I keep on seeing that there's something about this energy right now that does feel like Renaissance, because it's being able to find the words in something. It's being able to identify and articulate something in a way that one hasn't before. And when you do so, it feels frustrating, Because often in those moments that we're redefining something, we feel energetically isolated in the process. It feels like we're working to describe something. But that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, there's something about this energy that feels groundbreaking, either groundbreaking in the relationship or groundbreaking in the perception of the self, or even groundbreaking as it relates to the perception of how you're navigating circumstances and situations around the self. Because that ability to identify and articulate, to like move forward upon a plan, this is what is motivating a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, on pathwork of determination and resilience, as we move towards that Libra full moon, just a couple days away on the 13th. That is where we find all of the energy prior to beginning today's daily collective read. Now, if you would like to catch that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it over as a podcast over on my spot at Tarot Church and over on my Substack. That said, we are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. But if you would like to get on the list for a personal reading, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of 28 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 22 or more for my subscribers, Binks and Malayo. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps. Those are pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. We'll be doing a giveaway when we get to 50K, so make sure you're tapping that screen. We'll get to 50K in no time. We're also going to be doing a giveaway and giving a highest gift to, we're giving a reading to whoever gives the highest gift between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you're participating in that as well. But take a moment right now. Let me know, how are you doing? How are you feeling right now in this energetic cycle? I know, listen, I know it's feeling a little rough. I know it's feeling rough around the edges. I want you to understand this was a little bit expected, because I have to just explain, like, the one thing we're talking about right now is coming, like, it's coming out of the eclipse cycle, and it's like I keep on getting, it's like a combination of like the come down and the energetic jitters as Mercury like launches direct again. Hi there, Tans. Oh, hi, welcome. I feel like crap and I'm struggling. But listen, like, the fact that you're articulating that's important. Things I want you to be focusing on right now, good manifestations as we move towards this Libra full moon. The first thing is, for like, I need to stress some energetic cycles, staying an even keel through them is its own victory. It's like, that's good. like honestly, if you're doing things right now and you're able to maintain that even keel, I want you to think about anything over that right now is extra credit. So I want you focusing right now on self-care. I want you to make sure that you're hydrating. I want you to work through one of the things that we talked about a lot coming into this energetic cycle was finding our anchor, something that grounds us, something that brings us back into ourselves. So I want you to work in that space right now. And most importantly, I don't want you feeling triggered, right? Feel the trigger, identify what's triggering you, make sure that you're communicating to it, not reacting, not communicating through it, not reacting to it. And welcome. Thank you for joining us here. Hi there for those who are joining us across the other apps as well. Again, just a reminder, if you would like to get on the list for today, you can do so as well via my tree that has Binks in it in my bio. Hi there, everybody joining us on the Clock app. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Hello there, Denise. Always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to see you as well, Dada. And thank you for sharing the live. Elaine, thank you for joining us too. Hi there. Welcome. How are you doing, Ava? Hey there, Danny. How are you doing, Jacob? Hi there, Unique. Welcome. I'm not feeling well, my love. Jacob, the same thing I said before. Make sure you're hydrating. Make sure you're grounding. Allie, thank you for the follow. Grand Rising, Heather. Ava, I watched the Ricky and Morty meme that you were referencing, and it was very relatable. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. It was all I kept on seeing when I was doing your reading. And so I'm like, I really hope that they're able to relate to this, or else they're going to be like, what is she going on about? And thank you, Dabra, for the follow. Good to see you, Miss Melissa and Natalia. Thank you for the follow as well. Thank you, Dada, for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. Hi there. Have a good night, Jacob. And Grand Rising, Alicia. Good to see you as well. Kristen, I'm newly single, so I'm feeling a little traumatized, but that's okay. Listen, a lot of the same thing that we're talking about right now, communicating through it, not reacting to it. If you are feeling disappointed, but not devastated, you're already on the right track. And rose-colored glasses coming off kind of feeling. Yeah, here's like that's what we're experiencing right now, Alexandra, as it relates to like working into the space of reality. I keep on seeing a lot of this energy right now, very lucid. It's working through a lot of that lucidity. And I'm not surprised to see it too, because what have we been talking about? The fact that we've got Neptune, that is usually the back end energy that's moving forward right now. And we've got Mercury, the energy that usually drives ahead, pulling backward. So that ability of kind of modifying and regulating through that right now, it takes time, but making sure that you're honoring the space and how you feel, allowing that to kind of guide you through it. Sonia, I'm slowly getting my energy back. This has been a long journey practicing patience. Continue to do that work, Sonia. Dada, I feel good. Like opportunity is finally coming, but kind of bad for having them. I don't know. But what do you mean by kind of bad for having them as it relates to the opportunity or working through that? There's a lot of like, look, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of this energetic processing that we're having to do right now as it relates to the feelings. And I think that a lot of that has to do with, like, as we mentioned, that dip into Pisces and then moving back into Aries. Like it's a lot of this, if that makes sense. I'm feeling a bit confused. I put, oh my goodness, a protection order. I hope that you're safe. And I'm sending you so much support on that journey, Alicia. Yesterday, he had a friend reach out and ask me to drop it. Sending you so much support on that journey, dear. I'm glad that you're safe and doing the things you feel to create that point of safety. Fire under my butt, but soup ain't boiling yet. I love it, Ryan. Thank you for being here and receiving these messages. Hi there, Catherine. Good to see you as well. Hi there, Addie. I'm feeling like kindergarten was such a great time. Good to see you, Addie. Hope you're having a beautiful day. And Dada, thank you for sharing the live. It's a weird comedy for me. Listen, there's like there's something, and I gotta tell you, here's the thing too. Like Saturn is moving closer right now to that little like heap of planets that we were talking about. So I would not be surprised if there's not like, here's the thing, whenever I read for Saturn, it's like very dense, it's very heavy energy. It's like it's working through irony to a certain extent. So there's something to be noticed and navigated in that as well. Others around me don't have them. Dada, remember, you're not alone. I know sometimes, especially this type of energy that we're going through right now can feel very isolating. Remember, you're not alone. Overall, I feel good, mind, body, and spirit. I'm glad to hear that. As I mentioned, friends, we are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. A couple of updates before we begin. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for who participated in our recent class on the Justice card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, April 16th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Hangman. If you would like to become a part of our tarot class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I will always do my best to give you an update on everything that we have studied thus far, but the material is there for you to receive when you're ready to receive it. You will also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we have studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will meet with you personally and assess where you are on your own personal journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage moving towards your personal tarot goals. You'll also have access to the entirety of the Tarot Church Library Archive. That is over 12 hours worth of material in an ever-expanding library at your fingertips. One of the things I tried to do with these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in those classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my clients seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal, spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings. Those are for the client, for my client. Those can be purchased on an individual level or as a series. I would encourage that if you are going to purchase the series of readings, that you make sure to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. That said, we are going to get started on today's daily collective reads in the next few minutes, but if you would like to get on the list for a personal reading, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of 28 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 22 or more for my subscribers. Binks in my Lio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps. Those are pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. Also, keep in mind, we've got 2 contests that we are doing today. Our first contest is I will be doing a giveaway when we get to 50K likes. I will be gifting a reading back to the collective. We'll also be doing a giveaway today when we get to the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. We'll also be winning a reading. I am going to take a minute to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading, but just a reminder, or giving that recap, just a reminder, if you would like to get on the list is open. Also, if you are joining us across any of the other channels, you can also get on the list today via the tree that has Binks in it in my Lio. Ava, thank you so much for those gifts, and welcome Minnie as well. As I mentioned, friends, we are going to get started today. If you'd like to get on the list is open, and the first person on the list each day will always have an additional card in their reading. That said, no better time than the present. Why don't we begin? Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 2 cards in our 5-card spread for today? First 2 cards we are starting our day off with today are the 10, I'm not surprised to see it, the 10 of Swords in its upright in combination with the Justice card in its reversal. I want you guys to hold, I want to work through some of the energy that we're currently experiencing right now. One of the things I want to point out has to do with the fact that we're coming out of a very, very rough eclipse cycle. Why was this eclipse cycle rough? Because we had the combination forces going through this of the Mercury retrograde in combination with the Venus in retrograde. Now, one of the things that we were talking a lot about as it relates to the combination in separation, those 2 retrogrades are difficult enough, right? And again, the retrogrades are always gifts. They always are given to us to present us the opportunity of being able to come into points of accommodation, being able to recognize and identify where the work begins. Now, the Mercury retrograde cycles are not here to break your toaster. They're here to help us understand and recognize the difference between a groove and a rut. The Venus retrograde cycles are not here to make everything look hideous. They're helping us understand and recognize to shine that internal mirror of the self. However, in combination, working through both of those at the same time, it's very, very easy to get very hard on the self, right? It's also very easy to work in that space of feeling a lot of energetic pressure. Why? Because again, I want you to think about the fact that, and we talked a little bit about this coming into this cycle, that internal mirror, right? Working through that context, the space of feeling like a lot of that turning inwards, the over concentration of the self that is often characterized as it relates to the Venus and retrograde cycles. They often create those moments or modalities where it feels like things are energetically directed towards us. But what happens in those spaces and places where we're able to navigate through things with a sense of energetic compassion? The compassion that we give ourselves allows us to find those points of easement. They allow us to find those points of productivity, but it's not easy. It's requiring a lot of communication. And I keep on seeing that one of the advantages that's happening right now, especially as it relates to some of these new connections that are forming, is finding the language in order to articulate how one is experiencing something that is allowing for a level or degree of productivity moving forward. This isn't easy. I keep on seeing, especially for energy in separation, like I keep on hearing it's like it feels like the eclipse, like it feels like the eclipse crash, if you will. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like a lot of that energetic heaviness that like works through that space. But again, what happens when we're able to articulate upon something instead of feeling devastated by it? I just keep on seeing that a lot of energy right now is moving forward and being able to recognize and identify what it feels like to have a progressive conversation. At the same time, I'm also seeing a lot of closing out of cycles right now. And those cycles that are closing out are potentially due to understanding and identifying what feels like it is energetically imbalanced or something that isn't coming into a place of alignment. I'm not surprised to see energy like this as we're moving closer towards that Libra full moon, because a lot of that work in terms of trying to find an even keel, identifying and recognizing a sustainability point, this is allowing for a lot of productive conversations, particularly in the realms of identifying and recognizing what needs to change to facilitate healthy partnership, while at the same time, potentially the closing out of cycles where it feels like that energetic reciprocity isn't isn't there. And not just that it's not there, but there's almost like a refusal to move towards it. You'll recall that we saw that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, those conversations related to the difference between stubbornness and exquisite insistence, the things that we hold on to because they give us meaning, because we can identify, and because they drive us towards our higher self. At the same time, working through that same context, I just keep on seeing, I keep on hearing like a little bit of that work in relationality to airing grievances, right? To being able to feel the relief in airing grievances. But at that point, that's the moment that I keep on hearing, the moment that the energy feels the ability to articulate upon frustration is immediately allowing for the breakthrough by which new work can begin. Now, this is what I mean about some of this training wheel energy. It's not easy. It feels rough. It feels frustrating. I keep on seeing that there's even a little bit of clumsiness as it relates to some of the energetic connections that are coming together during this time. But I keep on hearing that the watchword for a lot of these partnerships has to do in recognizing and identifying progress, what feels like it is changing, what feels like it is energetically adaptable. It's a lot of that, like the difference between pardon our appearance, right? Someone putting in the energetic effort to do something in a different way versus those experiences that we sometimes reach our limitation on because someone is becoming unyielding in something in a way that almost feels like it creates a point of confusion because they're not necessarily able to articulate the reasons why. Now, continuing to get clarification, the center card in today's spread, we have here, I love this, we've got our nine of cups in its upright. And you want to do you want to see this? Like this is the frustration that allows for things to get over the hump, right? Like this is that I know it's Tuesday, but this is like hump day energy because there's a lot of this like energy about what it takes to get something like over the hump, articulating what that is. And I keep on seeing that working through those points of frustration, being able to recognize and identify, having those points of productivity allow for their own method or degree of breakthrough. But it's like it's having it's like I keep on seeing that for a lot of these energies in separation, it's the articulation point of the new ground that they're finding that is allowing all things to be possible. At the same time, I see that there's a lot of this consideration that's occurring as it relates to past circumstances and situations. But that's why I keep on seeing that a lot of that, like it feels like energetically clearing because it almost feels like that wave of relief that one has as it relates to looking at the past for reference instead of weapons. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, I just keep on seeing that there's something really important that's happening right now in the ability to set those energetic standards, to put oneself on a path of determination. There's a lot of that communication that's actively happening right now in those energetic connections that say, like, I keep on seeing that this is the energy that is holding themselves to a new energetic standard. But one of the things that we're seeing here as it relates to that standard is like, I just keep on seeing it's like that it's working through the frustration of the past self and not letting oneself get frustrated at the self to such an extent that you lose the clarity as it relates to what it is that you're building towards. Now, I just keep on seeing that for the energy coming into divine union right now, there's this bridge of communication. There's that relief in being able to articulate upon something that one wasn't able to articulate upon before. It's like a lot of that modality of working through the context of what is energetically possible in the realms of healthy communication. Now, for energy deep within divine union, what's interesting is this doesn't feel so much as it's expansive, so much as it feels very energetically firm and rigid. Why do we see so much of that firmness right now for energy deep within divine union? Because I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now, holding on to something firmly and being able to articulate and amplify why it is intrinsically important. This is allowing for a lot of breakthroughs as it relates to healthy communication, but it's working through frustration. It's potentially even articulating upon what is in one's own power to change versus what is needs to be energetically accepted, right? It's like I keep on hearing it's like it feels almost like road opener energy. Fourth and fifth cards in our 5 card spread. Where's this road opener energy coming from? There it is. We've got here our death card in combination with our tower card. Now there's a lot of energetic intensity that we are identifying here. And I want to stress this. One of the things that we're seeing that's happening right now, and I just kind of want to work you through what we were seeing astrologically to give a little bit of clarity as it relates to, like, I keep on seeing, like, working through any feelings of energetic dread, right? Because I got to explain this. So we've got some planets. The best way I can describe this is that we've got some planets that have been wobbling back and forth across the divide between Aries and Pisces. Okay? I want you to think about the fact that before the retrograde began, we had Mercury and Venus that were situated squarely up in Aries, and then during this retrograde process, they started to almost like move back into Pisces, right? So it's a lot of that. Again, what do we experience when we have Aries moving back into Pisces? Doubting the self, working through feelings of doubt of the self, reconsidering things, reorienting, right? Reintroducing oneself to feelings. And at the same time, we've got Saturn pushing up into Aries as well. So there's a lot of work that we see that is happening right now as it relates to working through feelings long held in the consideration of the time that one has been holding something, right? So there's a little bit of this, like I keep on hearing, it's like and the way I keep on describing this is it can feel almost like energetic vertigo because it's like it's recognizing the disorientation as it relates to the emotional weight that one is carrying, right? And that's why I keep on saying that, anything, remember, I want you to let the full moon in Libra that is coming towards us at this time provide that context of guidance, right? Because when we can feel I want to say, when we feel the energetic onslaught of past emotions, right? But we're able to calibrate it with the observation and perception of the self, right? We don't allow ourselves to be moved by the energy of our emotions, but rather we take into consideration how we feel, right? And we allow that to build into the pathwork of intentional communication. That is groundbreaking. Like that is groundbreaking. That is expansive. That is an energetic breakthrough point, right? And so that's why we see, and I got to tell you right now, even seeing, and I know how you got, I know how anxious everyone gets when you see cards like the Death card or the Tower. But I don't want you to look at these cards from a place of anxiety. I want you to look at them as the recognition point of being able to identify the limitations of the self that we often have to navigate in order to have an energetic breakthrough, right? Now, and I want to point out the beauty of this right here. Okay, we've got all of these heavy cards, and if you can't see today's spread, if you're not tuning in live, I would encourage you to head over to the Substack so you can see the spread proper when it's posted. All the heavy cards right now, the 10 of Swords, the Death card, and the Tower card, they're outside, right? They're pushed on the outside of the deck. And what do we have within the center of it? We've got here the 9 of Cups, right? So being able to work through anxiety, but not let it impress one's own center of clarity. Like I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of patience and determination that is occurring. And the beauty of this is, again, um, like the clarity of seeing something, right? It feeling the emotions, but not allowing the emotions to interrupt the intention is what I keep on hearing. Continuing to get clarification between our 10 of Swords in combination with our Justice card in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the King of Pentacles in its reversal. So this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. One of the things I keep on seeing right now that's occurring across all of the frequencies, it feels like, I keep on hearing, it feels like heart opening. It feels like road opening. It feels like a lot of that work and being able to articulate upon something in a way that one hasn't before. And I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing so, that ability of recognizing and identifying what meaning something has to another. this is allowing for a lot of unconventionality during this time, right? This is inventiveness. This is creativity. This is I keep on seeing there's a lot of that, like, creative expansion by means of taking something apart in order to be able to put it back together anew in ways that you haven't considered before. And that's why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of these conversations deep within divine union as it relates to inventiveness, as it relates to, how do I describe this best? Um, Working in the context of what one values versus what one is adaptable to. Now, for feminine energy, this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine right now. For masculine, I keep on seeing that there's something very significant in relationality to, I keep on seeing working in the space of being protective but not defensive. Remember that we were having a lot of those conversations over the last few days, because remembering, what did we talk about when we feel energetically defensive? When we're energetically defensive, we're effectively in a space where it's hard to listen to something, right? Where it's hard to hear something, where we kind of effectively close ourselves off. But when we're protective, we're able to articulate upon an energetic concern in a way that almost allows for new ground to be formed, right? It's energetic, it's constructive, right? And so that's why I keep on hearing that there's something very important that's happening right now for masculine energy, working through defensiveness in constructive ways, right? And I keep on seeing, to a certain extent, for a lot of masculine energy doing this work, this is like almost healing wounds of intimacy. This is healing a lot of that space where when we feel, and I keep on seeing, like, when we are defensive, it's like the ego that, like, steps in to kind of block or protect something, but it's not able to really articulate the reasons why. So that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, this could be feeling like a deep moment of creativity and expansiveness, because it's the ability to work through one's own, like, defensiveness, but not have it energetically affect the self, like almost have it inform the self, that feels like, I keep on seeing, like, feels like it's groundbreaking. Now, for feminine energy, I feel like a lot of this is interesting because I see the feminine energy more in the space of being transformative. I see more of the feminine in a space of, and it's interesting too, because you'll recall that I said previously that we saw this cycle of feminine that was feeling a lot more closed off, right? That I saw a lot of the feminine energy that was moving into that space of kind of like, I want to describe it as like high priestess energy, like going into their mind palace, if you will. I'm seeing here that this is like this is feminine, like coming into their spring, if you will, because I'm seeing, to a certain extent, this is the feminine that, like, went inwards to heal so that they can open their wings. So I just keep on seeing that there's something about the feminine coming into a space of flourishing or articulating upon that flourishing. And this is happening right now across all of the frequencies. For a lot of the energy coming into divine union, there's a new level or degree of safety that masculine is feeling within the arms of feminine right now. Because again, I want to describe to you that one of the things that we were seeing over the last few days is, for a lot of that energy, like, reintroducing each other to one another, talking about the hard things from the past, working in that context. Um, a lot of that clarity, I just keep on seeing, it feels, I keep on hearing the word magnanimous, because it's the energy that looks towards one another and says, I know that you consider that there are parts of you that are not ideal, but I want you to understand that to me, you are an energetic masterpiece, right? Like, that is why I keep on hearing that this is a renaissance energy that's occurring right now for energy coming into divine union, because it's more of that space of the energy saying, like, almost trying to apologize for their mess And the other partner, the counterpart, is saying, what mess? I don't see a mess here. I see a masterpiece. I see a work in progress that you're building towards. While for energy coming in separation right now, this is why so many of these partnerships that are coming together right now feel so fragile, right? It almost feels like a shell that's breaking, because I keep on seeing that these are some energies right now in separation that are coming out of relationships wherein it felt like they had to walk on eggshells. Why do we often feel like we have to walk on eggshells? Because remember, we saw that there was something about navigating like volatility there. We saw that there was something about navigating. We talked about, we've been talking over the last few days about the importance of being able to regulate the self, right? Why is it so vital and important to be able to work in the aspect of regulating the self? Because, and this is why these are chariot lessons, because when we're not in a place that we can regulate the self and we have an enormity of feelings, we often get caught in those vortexes where it feels like we don't even know what we're doing. Like the emotions guide us, we don't guide them. And often in those moments that we feel led by our emotions, but without intention, you know, I keep on hearing it's almost like when you lose control. I keep on hearing that those are the moments that you lose control of the chariot of the self, right? Because I want you to think about a chariot, that the importance of a chariot is that the person that is behind it controls the forces ahead of it. So when we have those moments that we feel an enormity of something, but we're not able to be energetically regulated through it, we feel like we're not safe to love because of that amplification of not being able to control the magnitude of what we are experiencing. So that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy, the ability to disassemble here, the trepidation that they're bringing forth in coming together consciously, is almost trying to say to one another, rest assured you're safe with me. Rest assured that I'm not in a space where my emotions lead me. I feel the emotions, but I guide the emotions with intention. Again, chariot partnerships. Continuing to get clarification between our justice card in combination with our Nine of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify. We have here our Page of Swords in its upright. Now, I keep on seeing there's clumsiness. There's some clumsiness in these partnerships that are occurring right now. There's a little bit of this, like I keep on seeing, there's a lot of this, and I want to stress this. The reason I'm bringing this up is because you'll recall when we were talking about the warrior partnerships during that Mars retrograde, there was no hesitation. Those energies were coming together. They were holding firm. They were like, I kept on describing it. It was like Wonder Twins energy. Not so much right now. These are energies. It's a lot. I keep on getting, it's a lot of red light, green light. It's a lot of stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. But why is there so much stop, start here? There's a lot of stop, start here because I keep on seeing this is energy that is working very carefully in setting in I keep on seeing setting, in being mindful of where the other energy of the counterpart is, and I keep on hearing being conscientious in the presence of the counterpart, right? It's a lot of this, like, you first, no, you first. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of this like heightened courtesy, if you will, because it's almost like energy that's like going out of their way to hold the door for one another, because there's so much of this fragility as it relates to healing from experiences wherein there was some kind of like anxiety or concern in relationality to like I almost see like there's trust wounds that are being healed right now, but that's why there's so much of this like like trepidation, because it's the conscientiousness that is informing the experiences and saying to one another, rest assured you are safe with me. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, I just keep on seeing there's almost like there's almost like a bit of like um there's almost a bit of playfulness here that feels like a relief. It almost like I feel like Mars going to I mean Mercury going direct is almost like it's almost like the morning after the storm, if you will. Like this was energy that was doing like a lot of heavy unpacking, like over the last few days, working through a lot of that Saturn moving up to that like little cluster of planets. And so I see even now that there's something about taking something lightly, or even like being playful about something that has gravity, that is helping the energy feel some kind of relief and release in saying to one another, this is what like the context of the self is one that is not heavy to carry, right? It's like I keep on hearing it's like the lightening of the energetic burden. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, there's something really important and significant as it relates. I keep on hearing it's like it's interesting because for energy deep within divine union right now, it feels a little bit like walking surely, but telling others to tread lightly. Why do we see something like that that's occurring right now for energy within divine union? Because um, there's something about the intentionality as it relates to being able to articulate and speak towards what's important that almost says don't like the kindness that we bring to something is intentional, it's not conditional, right? Like there's a lot of that I keep on seeing. That's why I keep on hearing for a lot of the energy right now deep within